2.4, variables and equations, we're going to be solving equations with variables. An equation, the term equation, is a mathematical sentence formed by placing an equal sign between two expressions. A solution of an equation with a variable is a number that produces a true statement when it is substituted for a variable. You will be doing problems and exercises that will ask you to give the solution, or is this a solution in the equation. So now we're going to talk about, in our first example, writing verbal sentences as equations. In example A, you have a verbal sentence. The verbal sentence is, the sum of x and 6 is 9. You'll be asked to write that in an equation, which would be x plus 6 is 9. B, the difference of 12 and y is 15. The equation that you would write down with that verbal sentence is 12 minus y equals 15. The product on C, the product of negative 4 and P is 32. That is how you will show the product. Negative 4P equals 32. And in D, the quotient of N and 2 is 9. You'll see N divided by 2 is equal to 9. C and D is how I want you to show it as multiplication or product. In B, which is a subtraction of the difference, order matters. So you need to make sure that you're giving it the order it is given. The 12, it's the difference of 12 and y, so you need to put it in that order. You cannot put it in y minus 12. That's not what it's saying. So you'll have that in your exercises tonight. You'll be given a verbal sentence, and then you need to write it as an equation. All right, in your next example, example 2, you'll be asked, tell whether 9 or 7 is a solution of x minus 5 equals 2. You're just checking the possible solutions. So all you do is you substitute 9 where x is. 9 minus 5 is equal to 2. No, that's not a solution. Then you substitute 7. 7 minus 5 is equal to 2. You say, yes, 7 is a solution. That's the type of exercises you'll be doing on your homework. All right, so let's do some examples writing the verbal sentence as an equation. Number 1, you're given the sum of 3 and z is negative 10. Write that as an equation. The second example, the quotient of m and 6 is 4. Write an equation out for that verbal sentence. And number 3, tell whether negative 5 or 5 is a solution of negative 8y is equal to 40. First, you will substitute negative 5. If that's not the correct solution, then you would substitute 5. This is how you will pose your answer in your homework problems. So now these are going to be simple equations that you're going to be asked to solve, but they will be increasingly more difficult. So finding all solutions of an equation is called solving the equation. You can use mental math to solve a simple equation by thinking of the equation as a question. So in these examples, in example 3, you could say, what plus 3 gives you 11? Class, x is equal to 8. So in your answer, I want you to put x is equal to 8. Another way that you can do it is you can do the opposite, or you can undo it. If the examples are increasingly more difficult, you can do the opposite of what the operation is. For example, in A, the operation is addition. If you have something that you cannot do mentally, you can do subtraction, which would be 11 minus 3 is 8. So if you have an equation, you're asked to solve it, do the opposite to solve it. B, 16 minus m equals 9. Class, m is equal to? 7. You could say in your head, what plus 9 gives you 16? All right, and C, 20 is equal to 5t. T is equal to? 4. So that is a multiplication operation on the right-hand side of the equation. You can divide. Again, this is when it gets more difficult. So now we have D. We have D is y divided by 6 equals negative 3. This is a division problem. What's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So if you can't do this in your head, you can multiply. You can multiply negative 3 times 6. What is negative 3 times 6, class?
Negative 18.
So you can do y is equal to negative 18. This is how I want you to pose your answers to. The variable is equal to the solution to the equation. Now we're going to ask to solve the equation using mental math. So in number 4, x is equal to what, class?
17.
In 5, n is equal to?
Negative 8.
In 6, w is equal to?
Negative 5.
And in 7, s is equal to?
9.
9. Now we're going to take our lesson and use it in writing and solving an equation with word problems. Go-kart rides cost $5 each at a county fair. During the first day of the fair, the go-kart operator takes in a total of $1,000. How many times did the people ride the go-karts that day? Write and solve an equation to find the answer. You look to see what you know in the problem. You know that the operator took in $1,000. You notice that each ride cost $5. So when they ask you to write and solve an equation to find an answer, you're going to be using a variable. Then you're going to solve for the variable. So in setting up the equation, the variable is C. We chose that, and it's 5 times C is equal to 1,000, or $1,000. Then to determine if you can do it mental math, what times 5 gives you 1,000? And that would be 200. So your final answer would be 200 times. And our next word problem, example 5. An animal shelter charges $75 to adopt a puppy. 1 week they collected $1,500 in adoption fees. How many puppies were adopted that week? I'm going to ask you to set that up in an equation and then solve it, just like we did in example 4. So in your solution, you knew in the word problem that it was $75 to adopt a puppy, and in a week they collected $1,500. So you're going to set it up as 75p is equal to 1,500. Then you would divide 1,500 divided by 75, and you get 20 puppies. So class, in recap, we were using variables and equations today, and we were writing variable sentences as equations, and we were checking possible solutions. So this concludes the 2.4 lessons from variables and equations.